Today is December 14th, 2017. My name is Joe Todd. This is an interview with Norman Ardell Nichols in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. Sir, where were you born?
I was born in Osage County, about 5 miles southwest of Oshaleta, on a oil lease.
Okay. And when's your birthday?
August the 19th, 1932.
Who is your father?
Earl Frank Nichols.
And your mother?
Madeline, Madalline.
What was her maiden name?
McGee. M-A-G-E-E.
Where did you start the school?
I started the school at the country school Hilltop in, I guess, 1939.
Is that near Oshaleta?
Yes.
How big was that school?
It was just a one-room schoolhouse, and it had, I'm not sure, it probably had maybe 20-some students, maybe.
Okay, so one-room schoolhouse.
Yeah, one-room schoolhouse.
What was your teacher's name?
Sykes. Don't know her first name. Don't remember.
How did the teacher handle all the grades in one room?
She would just kind of take us by rows. We had little kids in the front and the larger ones in the back rows, and she would just move back to teach different grade levels.
Okay. What type of work did your father do?
He was a pumper and a gasoline plant operator for City Service Oil Company.
Okay. What type of house did you have on the lease?
We lived in two different houses on the lease. One of them was in a camp, and there was about four or five houses and a bathhouse, common bathhouse, in the camp. And then when he operated the gasoline plant, there was just one house there close to the gasoline plant that we lived in.
Describe the camp house.
A long time ago, but they were just nothing fancy, of course. The city service, they would furnish the paint when Mom wanted to change the color, and Dad and Mom would paint the house, but the company would furnish the paint to do.
How many rooms in the house?
They were usually just two bedroom, a dining room, and living room, and most of them had a porch.
Okay.
We would, in the hot summertime, sometimes we'd sleep either on the porch, or I've slept many a night out under the stars, just to stay cool.
Do you have any pictures of those camp houses?
No, sir, I don't think we do have.
Okay. And where was the lease located?
It was located right off the current road between Oshaleta and Walco.
Okay.
Walco's not much there anymore.
Yeah. And after you, what chores did you do around the house?
Just normal chores. We did have, Dad always raised pigs, and he always raised 200 chickens to begin with. And and we, at one point we had 2 milk cows, and so I milked the cows when I was old enough.
How many brothers and sisters did you have?
I had 5 brothers and 2 sisters.
Okay. How far was the school from your house?
The school was about from the camp. It was about 2 miles, And my older brothers, they would walk to school. We didn't have buses at that time. When in the first grade, in the second grade, Ramona bought a new bus, and they came out and took us to Ramona School. And it was 13 miles from Ramona.
Okay. What year did you graduate from high school?
I graduated in 1950.
1950. Okay. How did rationing affect you and the family during World War II?
It affected us some. Dad, since he worked in the oil industry, we were able to get, I think they were third grade tires, they called them. And we had gasoline that we only had to pay the tax. City service let the employees buy the gasoline, or they gave them the gasoline, and we had to pay, I think at that time, it was 7 cents a gallon for tax. And Dad had to keep record of the tax money, and he would send it in, I don't know whether every month or every 3 months, something like that, to the state.
Did you help with the scrap metal drives during the war?
Yes. Not only scrap metal, but rubber. We would go around and pick up tires, abandoned tires, and then we had the scrap metal that we would collect.
Where'd you take the scrap metal and the rubber?
I think they had kind of collection points. I don't know whether Oshaleta had one, but when the war started, I was 9 years old, and when it ended, I was 13. So I remember the latter part of the war more than the early part. But I don't remember exactly where we did take the scrap metal.
Okay. What'd you do in VJ Day when the war ended?
We were in Texas when VJ Day occurred, and we were at Sherman, Texas, that particular night, and my cousin had a Crosley automobile that was made by Crosley Corporation, made refrigerators, and they were a very small car. And when we got back to his car, there was some airmen. There was an air base there at Sherman, and there was some airmen that had literally picked his car up and set it on the sidewalk. And he had to drive clear down to the block to where the curb was lower, where he could drive the car off.
Now, why'd the family move to Sherman?
We were there visiting.
Okay.
Yeah. My grandparents lived in Greenville, and then we had other relation that lived at Sherman.
Okay.
So we were visiting there at Sherman that particular night.
Okay. And you graduated from Ramona High School?
Barnsdall.
Barnsdall High School.
In 1945, we moved to Barnsdall,
Okay.
and my dad changed positions, and we moved to Barnsdall, and so I graduated. I spent the last 4 years in
Okay.
Barnsdall.
How large was Barnsdall in those days?
What was the question?
How large was Barnsdall in those days?
It was about 1,700, and they had a population sign, I think something like 1,731 people, something like that.
And was that factory going in Barnsdall at that time?
Yes, in fact, part of the factory is still going now, but the refinery part was going real strong at that time.
What were they refining there?
They were for refining gasoline,
Okay.
and wax, which is a byproduct of the petroleum. And they would ship that wax out in, I think, 80-pound blocks. And they would, at that time, we had the freight trains would come into Barnstall, and they'd load the wax on the freight cars.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What'd you do after high school?
The first year, after I graduated, I tried to locate some jobs, and the kind of turning point that made me decide to go ahead and enlist is I came to Bartlesville to interview for a flower delivery company, and one of the first questions they asked me was, what was my draft status? And I thought that was something for a delivery person, for them to ask me about my draft status. I figured it probably time for me to go ahead and get my military service over with and then get a job afterwards.
So did you enlist or were you drafted?
I enlisted.
When did you enlist?
I enlisted May the 1st of 1951, May Day.
And you joined the Navy?
Navy.
Okay.
I had three brothers in World War II, and so I stayed with the tradition.
So they were in the Navy also?
They were in the Navy also.
What are your brothers' names?
The oldest one was Robert Charles Nichols. You did an interview with him some time back. And the younger one, or one younger than Bob, his name was Gerald, and then had Don was the youngest.
Okay. Where'd you go for your boot camp?
Went to San Diego.
How'd you travel to San Diego?
How did it what?
How'd you travel to San
Oh,
Diego?
I went by bus.
Okay. How long did the trip take?
I think I went by just a conventional Greyhound out there. And I think it took me 2 days to get to San Diego.
Okay. Did you stay on the bus the whole time?
They changed drivers. We stayed on or I stayed on the bus, I think, the whole trip, and we changed drivers.
Okay. Tell me about boot camp.
It was, Navy boot camp was not as strenuous as the rest of them, I think, but it wasn't too bad. We just had calisthenics of the morning, and then we had our classes that we went to. We marched between classrooms, and it was an 8-week boot camp.
What training did you have in boot camp?
It was mainly just to indoctrination of the naval history and conditioning and learning discipline. That was basic. We had to know how to swim. That was one of the requirements in boot camp.
Now, of course, now Korea's going on.
Uh-huh.
Did you discuss Korea in boot camp?
I don't remember too much if we discussed Korea in boot camp, but then after boot camp, I went to other schools, mechanic schools. I went from San Diego, took my boot leave, reported back to San Diego, and then went to Jacksonville, Florida for aviation indoctrination. I wanted to be in aviation.
Now, tell me about the trip from San Diego to Jacksonville.
That was done by train, and we had to Kansas City from San Diego. We were actually with a group of a regular train, but we had three military cars in the train makeup, and there was no hardly any water on the train, and no air conditioning. We had to have the windows down, and when we came through the desert, the wind would blow the sand across the tracks, and then when the train would go through, the sand would just kick up and come in the windows, and we were sweaty and everything. Time we got to Kansas City, we looked, I'm not sure, pretty horrible. There was a flood at Kansas City, and the last few miles getting into Kansas City, the train had to go real slow because water was actually over the tracks, and so they didn't know what condition the tracks were in, really, and so we went real slow in case they did have a washout that wouldn't have a big catastrophe.
Where'd you sleep on the train?
Just in seats,
In the seats?
yes.
How were the meals on the train?
I don't remember too much about the meals. That was a long time ago.
Yeah. So what'd you do in Jacksonville?
Went to what they call it, A&P school, preparatory for naval aviation. And in that, at the time, the Navy had something like 18, I think, specialty aviation schools, aerographer, parachute rigging, aircraft mechanic, structural mechanics, electronics, electrician, metal works on the planes, so, something like that for all the different phases that the Navy had in that.
Now, which did you go into?
I went to aircraft mechanic, engine mechanic.
Did you request aviation?
Yes.
Okay. So what type of training did you have in Jacksonville?
It was, they actually let us have about 1 week in each one of the different aspects that the Navy had, so that we could make up our mind for sure what we wanted to go into for our specialty. And then from Jacksonville, I went to Memphis for a 12-week school for strictly aircraft mechanic school. We learned the whole aspect of the mechanics, engine mechanics of the airplane.
What, will you work on a certain airplane or just a generic airplane?
We just worked on generic engines and studied them to learn the operation. And the Navy, actually, as far as the engines, they had an overhaul shop in New Orleans, but we would take off the components like carburetor, magnetos, and then do the regular checks on the aircraft, changing the oil, and things like that.
And you in Memphis how long?
12 weeks.
12 weeks. What was the reaction of the local people in Memphis to you being in the Navy?
They were very nice to us. They really respected the military, and so Memphis was a friendly town.
Okay. So from Memphis, where'd you go?
Well, I went to Norman, Oklahoma, and I was in flight operations at Norman, and as well as I was in charge of our all of our vehicles.
Okay.
I wouldn't change the oil, but they kept track of all the vehicles that we had at the North Base. It was kind of an unusual situation at Norman. We had to have aircraft to facilitate the operations at the South Base, and the North Base was the University of Oklahoma, and the Navy rented a quarter of a hangar for the aircraft that we had to use in conjunction with the South Base. We made a lot of flights to Memphis. Was actually our, I guess, headquarters of our for the kind of smaller bases from around this part of the country.
What aircraft did you have at Norman?
We had two different ones to begin with. We had the AT-6, Navy called them SNJ, but it was a Texan single engine, two cockpit trainer, and then we had three twin engine Beechcraft that we used for administrative work between Memphis, Dallas. I would make several flights to Dallas while I was there, and Memphis.
Okay. What unit were you assigned to at Norman?
The unit was flight operations.
Flight
actually.
operation. Had you flown before?
No, I never flown before.
When did you make your first flight?
It was pretty quickly after it got to Norman, because it was a training base, and they were also training the pilots from single engine aircraft to twin engine, multi-engine aircraft. And we would have to, they would use a observer to fly anytime we were training, because the pilot would be in the pilot seat, and training pilot in training would be in the co-pilot seat, and they would have a colored plexiglass that they would put up to cover the windshield. We had clips that would cover the windshield for the co-pilot's area. And then he had a pair of goggles on, and with the goggles and this amber plexiglass, it made it dark. He couldn't see out the windshield, and he'd be flying by instruments. So we would have a observer in the back to help the pilot observe for any other aircraft that would come into our airspace. And because the pilot couldn't see the outside the cockpit.
You go to any OU football games while you're there?
No. When I worked at the, when they had a OU football game, they would have a tremendous number of private airplanes come in there to Max Westheimer Field. And so they would let us, Navy personnel there at the base, help direct the aircraft when they would land, and we would direct them to the parking areas.
Okay.
So we got paid extra by the airport. The Navy didn't pay us, but the airport paid us extra to park the aircraft.
You at Norman, how long?
29 months.
And from Norman, where'd you go?
I went to Norfolk, Virginia.
What'd you do there?
I was processed there, then it went, it was just a couple days, I guess, processing, and then went to Oceana, Virginia, which is about 13 miles from Norfolk, to join the VA-25 squadron.
What is VA-25?
It was a attack squadron that used a piston aircraft engine, piston engine aircraft to fly off the carriers for the raids on Korea.
Okay.
And the FDR, aircraft carrier FDR, brought the VA-25 back from the Korean waters, and I joined the squadron, and then while we were there at Virginia, in preparation for the different carrier, the Ticonderoga, to go back to Korea. So I was there at the Oceana training for working on the aircraft that we were, that our squadron was using at that time.
What type of aircraft did you have?
It was a very large single engine aircraft made by Douglas. They called it the AD-1, and it had a 18-foot propeller and a 3350 cubic inch engine. It was had four banks of 9 cylinders, so it was 36-cylinder engine, and it with the big propeller and the big engine, it could actually take off from a carrier with a bigger bomb load than the 4-engine B-17 of World War II.
Now, did you go aboard the Ticonderoga?
Yes.
Okay.
Went aboard the Ticonderoga and went to Cuba for our shakedown cruise. And we were down there for about 3 months, and we were training with a submarine, which we never saw because they were always underwater. Mm-hmm. And then we also was training with blimps. We had the blimps squadron, blimps that had come down from New Jersey. I think there was 4, and they would operate with us out in the open sea around Cuba in training exercises. And we had destroyer with us for aircraft recovery or pilot recovery if we had a crash.
Now, when did you go aboard the Ticonderoga?
Went aboard it I think it must have been maybe about September, and
What year?
of that would have been of 54.
54. Now, was Korea over by that time?
No, it was still
Okay.
Active war.
What were your quarters on the Ticonderoga?
They were. We had about I think 3 bunks that were attached to each other with chain. The top bunk was secured to the overhead, and then chains would hang down from there, and then the bunks would be attached to the chains.
And you were on which deck?
I think I was on the bottom deck.
Okay. Did you have a general quarters on the ship?
We practiced general quarters as far as practice to make sure, and my station was always to be by my aircraft.
Okay.
during general quarters.
Okay.
That was my station.
Now, how many aircraft in your squadron?
We had about 32, 33 in our squadron, and our squadron was the only propeller squadron, and we had 3 other squadrons of jets. We had one squadron of the F-2H Banshee and a squadron of the F-9F Cougar. It was a swept wing, one of the first swept wing planes that the Navy had. And then we had a squadron of the F-7U Cutlass. It was a Chance Vought aircraft.
Okay. Where are the aircraft kept on the carrier?
They were kept usually on the hangar deck until we went for operations, flight operations, and then they would bring them up on the flight deck to take off.
Now, what was your job in the squadron on the Ticonderoga? What did you do?
To do the mechanic work on the aircraft. We would keep the aircraft clean, and then when we were going to be flying, we would help the pilot in the aircraft, help him put on his harness that was attached to his parachute, and then we would stay by the aircraft while they were taxied up to take off for the practice bombing operation for that day. We had 2 different types of targets, you'd say. We had a sled that we would pull behind the carrier, and it was attached with a cable, and it would stay on the top of the water. And when the pilots would practice their bombs, we had practice bombs that were, some of them were made here at Bartlesville by Superior Welders. They were probably about a foot long, and they had a receptacle that kind of like a shotgun shell would be inserted in the bomb, practice bomb. It had a firing pin in the nose of it, so that when it hit the sled, if it did hit the sled, the firing pin would fire the type of shotgun shell. And they had different colors for different pilots, and the pilot behind would radio to the pilot that had dropped the bomb, because by the time the bomb hit, the aircraft was already past the sled. So the trailing pilot would see the color of the smoke that would come from the projectile or shot the shell, and he would notify me if he had hit the sled or not. If he didn't hit the sled, the shell wouldn't detonate. It just hit the water and with no action on the firing pin.
Was this a one-use bomb or they reused again?
No, it was one-use bomb.
One-use bomb.
Yes, because it either hit the sled or it, of course, go into the water and be gone forever.
Okay. Now, did you have one aircraft that you worked on, or you work on more than one aircraft?
I was assigned to one aircraft.
Now, did you have one pilot assigned to that aircraft?
We had different pilots would fly the aircraft
Okay.
from day to day.
Okay. Uh, how were your meals on the Ticonderoga?
They were good. The larger the ship, the better, usually, the better the food was, and everything was bigger on a carrier.
How many crew on the
I think
Ticonderoga?
we had somewhere around 3,500.
Okay. Now, did you have a position to abandon ship if you had to?
No, not that I remember.
Okay.
The general quarters, we did have the position of had to be with the aircraft. But as far as abandoning ship, we didn't. I don't remember us having a drill for that.
Okay. So where did the Ticonderoga go when you went on board after the shakedown cruise?
Well, after the shakedown cruise, my time was up when we came back to Norfolk, Virginia to replenish the ship. My time was up and I was discharged and came back home.
When did you get your discharge?
I got discharged April the 22nd. 8 days short of 4 years.
Of what year were you discharged?
That was 55.
55. Okay. What'd you do after you got your discharge?
I came back to Bartlesville and went to work for city service and went to Russell, Kansas for the first summer and worked in the oil fields at Russell.
What'd you do?
I was roustabout.
Roustabout.
Yeah.
Okay.
I might tell you part of when we were operating off of Cuba, we lost one pilot that crashed in the ocean, and his name was Ensign Slate, and I remembered his name. And after the first summer in Kansas, I was enrolled in the University of Oklahoma, and Ensign Slate was from Oklahoma City, and his dad was the postmaster there. So my wife and I went to Oklahoma City, and we met. We had called them on the telephone, and they invited us to come to their house, and we met Ensign Slate's twin sister and his mother and dad. And I told them what I knew about the loss of their son, and they appreciated the wife and I come by and talking to them.
What kind of person was he?
He was a very one of the all the plane captains that he was acquainted with. He was always just a real nice, friendly young man. He was just right out of flight school, and that was his first assignment, to go aboard the carrier. And he was just a very good, typical Oklahoman.
You know what happened when he crashed? What happened?
He just got to flying too slow, and the airplane stalled out and went in on the wing, and we heard on the bullhorn, aircraft in water, and during flight operations, we could either go back down to our bunk area, or we would stay on the flight deck area, which that's where I was. And I was on the back side of the island, away from the activity, because when the airplanes are landing, there can be accidents. So we were on the back side of the island, for safety precautions. And immediately, when they say aircraft in water, well, all the flight operations quit immediately. The airplanes are held in pattern, no takeoff, no landings. And by the time we got to the other side of the carrier, all we could see was just kind of like a slick, like a big fish had come up, and it made the ocean where he went in was temporarily calm, where the aircraft had gone in. And the only thing they recovered was his helmet. The aircraft, of course, sank real quick because the cockpit is open when they are coming in for landing. They have the cockpit open, and when it went in with the open cockpit and went in on the wing, if it had been flat, he could have probably gotten out, but when it went in on the wing, it just immediately sank.
So how long did you work for city service?
I worked for them till 1958, and I went to Texas with them in the summer of 56, 55, summer 55, I worked in Russell, Kansas. And then 56 and 57, I worked in Electra and Vernon, Texas.
What'd you do after city service?
We came back to Bartlesville, and I went to I worked a short time for Gerald Coast. I was in school with Gerald Coast and Ramona from the second grade to the 8th. And I worked for Gerald Coast for a while, building houses. And then after that, I went to work for Dr. Pepper. Did I go to, was it Wellsville? Yeah, I went to Wellsville first, and then Dr. Pepper. I went to work for Wellsville Oil Company. They had a CO2 plant up 4 miles north of Dewey.
Okay. And the Wellsville?
Wellsville,
okay.
Out of Wellsville, New York,
okay.
was the oil company.
When'd you retire?
Well, I retired from the schools 13 years ago, I guess about 2001 or 2, and I'm still working at Walmart now.
Okay. Now you say you retired from the schools?
Yes,
What'd you do for the schools?
I was custodian,
okay.
mid-high, for 15 years.
What, at Central?
At mid-high, out on Madison, not Madison, but Baylor. Baylor.
That's the old Sooner School.
Yeah, the old Sooner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. Okay. Where'd you meet your wife?
I met her, actually it was New Year's Eve in 1954. New Year's Eve was 1954.
Where?
Was a blind date.
Where?
We went to the preview.
Well, he said, I worked with his sister at the telephone company.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
okay,
that's how we met.
okay. And so you met up, so you were on a blind date?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did your sister set this date up?
Yeah.
or-
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's your sister's name?
Shirley Pasley.
And she worked at the telephone company?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, here in Bartlesville.
Okay. Would you join the Navy again?
Yes, yeah. It was one of the most enjoyable times of my life, I think.
I'd like to do a word association. I'll give you some words and you give me your reaction. The first one is boot camp.
I guess you'd say enjoyable.
Naval aviation.
That's my ambition.
USS Ticonderoga.
Is a good ship.
Ensign Slate.
He was a very, very nice gentleman.
Dwight Eisenhower.
He was a very good president.
John Kennedy.
Oh, he was. I was really saddened at his death.
Lyndon Johnson.
I myself, I think he had something to do with the assassination.
Richard Nixon.
Nixon, I didn't like him. I don't know why, but I just didn't like. He wasn't one of my favorite people, I guess you'd say.
How do you want to be remembered?
Oh, just as a nice guy.
Now, what else you want to talk about? Anything else? Anything happened in the Navy?
Well, wife and I have been married for 62 years, and we've had a real good family. We had 5 children, and 5 years ago, we lost our youngest one. She had 2 brain aneurysms on a Sunday, but she was an organ donor, and I like to tell this part of the story, that there was a woman in California that was a perfect match, and one of her kidneys, they flew to California. They normally do organ transplants regionally, but since hers was, she lived in Minnesota, and she was a tour bus driver out of Minnesota, and by her kidney being the perfect match to the lady in California, that takes precedence. So they flew that kidney to California, and that woman had been waiting for 7 years for a kidney. And her other kidney went to a woman in South Dakota that had been waiting for 4 years for a kidney. And her pancreas went to the University of Minnesota, and they were doing research with taking healthy pancreas cells and injecting them in people that had diabetes into their liver to treat diabetes. And so she did well even in death.
What's your daughter's name?
Pamela Diane Smith.
What's your most vivid memory of your naval career?
I think the flight deck operations, I really enjoyed that. And I watch a lot of the History Channel, American History Channel, and they have a lot of the World War II, well, World War I, World War II, and they also have the flight operations of the super carriers now. The Ticonderoga, it was just about 900 feet long, and the carriers, the super carriers now, are about 1,100 feet long, so they're a lot bigger.
Now, what are flight deck operations?
That is where the aircraft actually take off from the flight deck of the carrier. and we had to be right with the aircraft. The first place, the carrier turns into the wind anytime they launch aircraft or retrieve aircraft. And so you have the wind, the normal wind current, whatever speed it is, plus you have your speed of your carrier going into the wind. So you always have a lot of wind coming across the flight deck, and we had to hang on to the aircraft with one hand, and we carried a chalk, which it's a kind of a U-shaped device that goes under the wheels, and so we would have, anytime the carrier pilot would have to quit taxiing, we would have to throw the chalk down so that just an added precaution when he would have his foot on the brake. And then when they got ready to taxi again, we would have to reach down and pull the chalk, carry it with us, and then repeat that when they were getting the aircraft ready to be in position to take off. And then at the final time, we would remove the chalk, and then our propeller planes, they didn't have to use the catapult. So they could take off from the flight deck without the use of a catapult. And we would take our chalk and get to the side of the carrier and to the catwalk, and then the carrier would take off.
Now, landing on an aircraft, what stops the aircraft?
They have the landing hook is attached to the aircraft, and then they have what they call cross-deck pennant, is what the cables that we would have a series of, I think about 7 cables at different intervals on the, starting from the aft of the carrier to the forward part, and the aircraft would, tail hook would catch one of those cables, and the cable would stretch out and stop the aircraft very quickly, and that's what stopped the aircraft.
Okay. Well, sir, this is a very good interview.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for your service and thank you for the interview.
We appreciate that.
And again, this is December 14th, 2017. My name is Joe Todd. This has been an interview with Norman Ardell Nichols in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.